Excited to kick off the 2024 budget process. I'm Shannon Harden. I'm the outgoing chair of finance. So I am thrilled to be here with my colleagues as we review, work with the administration, work with finance, and all those folks who put so much time into preparing the mayor's 2024 budget. This is our first of 5 hearings that we will hold. We'll hold additional hearings tomorrow, next Tuesday, and next Wednesday, all in the evening, and then next Thursday at 2 p.m. During this process, council will be taking a lot of feedback, hearing from city leaders and community leaders, and then we will propose our amendments to the budget in late January or early February. We have tough decisions to make. I just laugh because if we actually get it done by late January, I think Matt put that in there. That would that would be pretty impressive. We have tough decisions to make. We know needs are increasing across our city departments and across our community, and resources are not increasing at the same rate. So in particular, the federal funds we received during the pandemic to stabilize us are beginning to run their course. That means we will have to make tough decisions working with our community partners. So like I said, I've served as finance chair for the last year, and I am very excited to pass off the reins of this committee to my friend Nick Bankston. He has been the vice chair with me last year. He was in every meeting that I was in last year in finance, and he is ready to go with his partner in crime, the vice chair of the committee, President Pro Tem Rob Dorrance, who will be leading the council through this process. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the chair.
Thank you, President Harden, and looking forward to this assignment and the work that we will do together. Want to first off welcome everyone here and say good evening and thank you all for joining us for tonight's budget hearing for the Finance and Governance Committee. First, want to start by thanking Mayor Ginther and all of our phenomenal City of Columbus staff for their unwavering commitment to the residents of our city and the hard work that went into delivering on our promises in 2023. Also want to take the time to thank and acknowledge our invited presenters this evening. We have with us Deputy Director Chris Long from the Department of Finance. We have Director Sam Orth from our Department of Technology and his team, Auditor Megan Kilgore, Robert Prince, who is here, the Tax System Solutions Manager for the Auditor's Office, and our City Treasurer, Ms. Deborah Klee. And I want to just again thank them for their dedication, their leadership, and for taking the time to present on their respective budgets this evening. I would also like to thank my vice chair for the Finance and Governance Committee, President Pro Tem Rob Dorrance, as well as Council President Harden, and the rest of my council colleagues for leaning into this process to ensure that the final version of this budget truly reflects the needs of our residents. Mayors and administrations propose budgets, and it is this council's job to appropriate that budget and to approve it. And we look at that through a lens of equity, and I think that we are blessed to have an administration that shares that value of equity. And so for us, looking at the top 4 priorities for council, being safety, housing, jobs, and quality of life, that's the lens in which we evaluate this budget that is before us. This year, council, as Council President Harden noted, will hold 5 budget hearings that follow specific themes and topics. As I mentioned at the start of my remarks, today's hearing is on the Finance and Governance Committee, which will hear presentations from our Department of Finance and Management, the Auditor's Office, the City Treasurer's Office, and thank you. Again, so that includes the Auditor's Office, the City Treasurer's Office, and also the Department of Technology. Since I have the pleasure of holding the first budget hearing, I would like to share a few facts highlighting the strengths of our city's financial standing going into 2024. To start this year, once again, this is our city's largest budget in the city's history. Total resources for this budget, which is comprised of the Auditor's General Revenue Fund estimate, plus a transfer of $30 million from the Basic City Services Fund, equals a general fund budget of $1,194,700,000. This is the total dollar amount departments utilize to build their budgets for the year. The all-fund budget comprised of all city funds, so this includes our enterprise funds and all other general revenue outside of tax collection, is a total of $2.4 billion for the city. This budget is a testament. It's a testament to the vibrancy and the growth of our city is experiencing, but however, more importantly, it is a representation of the strength, of the perseverance, and the resiliency of this community. During a time when many cities are experiencing population loss and revenue shortfalls all across our country, our community continues to rise above the tide, time and time again, pushing Columbus forward. I would be remiss if I did not give additional thanks and praise to our city auditor for her steadfast leadership in ensuring that we have financial principles that continue to move our city forward, as well as Director Kathy Owens of our Department of Finance for all the work that she has done and her team in moving this budget forward. With that, I'm going to pause to see if there's any opening comments from my colleagues. Mr. Vice Chair, Councilmember Remy, Councilmember White. All right. Well, thank you. We will then get right into it. First, we'll kick off this evening's hearing with a presentation from the Department of Finance and Management. And I guess let me go through a little housekeeping. We'll have presentations from all of our departments, questions and comments from the council and colleagues, and then there will be a portion for public testimony for those that have signed up to speak, and that's how we'll flow this evening. So with that, I will turn it over to Deputy Director Chris Long with our Department of Finance and Management.
Good afternoon, Council President Hardin, President Pro Tem Dorans, Finance Chair Bankston, and members of Council. On behalf of the Administration and Finance Director Owens, I'm pleased to discuss Mayor Ginther's proposed 2024 operating budget. I will present general fund overview of the budget, followed by specific comments related to the Department of Finance and Management's budget. As Chair Bankston indicated, overall, this is a $2.4 billion operating budget, of which slightly less than half, about 49.5%, or $1.195 billion is for the operation of the general fund divisions. The majority of my remarks will be related to the general fund operating budget. The first step in budget development is the identification of revenues and resources, as these establish budgetary thresholds for the general fund. As can be seen on the slide, income tax revenue is the most significant funding source for the general fund, representing almost 78% of all revenue and 73% of total resources. A little closer? All right. Sorry. I don't want to project too much. I'm happy to report that income tax revenue was projected to grow by 3% in 2023, but actuals came in at approximately 4.5%, which is indicated by Chair Bankston as a testament to the strength and resilience of our community. The City Auditor's 2024 estimate for income tax growth is projected at 3%, which is certainly strong and reflects considerations for the local effects of geopolitical tensions, persistent but declining inflation, and longer than expected higher interest rates. Other notable sources of revenue and resources include property taxes, which due to increasing property tax valuations and reappraisals by the county are projected to grow by 29% in 2023, as well as investment earnings projected to increase by $13 million over 2023. The 2023 carryover amount is projected at $34 million, which includes $24 million in third quarter review cost savings. To wrap up the revenue side, a transfer of $30 million, as indicated by Chair Bankston, will be utilized from the Basic City Services Fund, as well as $1.4 million from City Council's Reimagine Safety Subfund. Now shifting over to expenditures. Next slide, please. The operating budget for the city funds all personnel, goods, and services that are necessary to deliver essential services to our citizens. The slide provides a departmental breakdown of the 2024 general fund budget, and the general fund budget is 2.7% higher than the 2023 amended budget and 4.9% higher than the 2023 third quarter financial projection. It represents the largest general fund budget in the history of the city, and again, is reflective of the strength of our economy and the resilience of our citizens. This is a continuation budget that focuses on the safety of our residents, the quality of life in our neighborhoods, continued fiscal responsibility, and the future of our young people. It's a budget that has been informed by Mayor Ginther's Opportunity Rising framework and its three pillars of safe and resilient communities, health and well-being of our residents, and the economic stability of our city. The collective commitment to the city's long-term financial health has again resulted in the maintenance of our AAA bond rating. Columbus is one of the largest cities in the nation to maintain the highest credit rating for debt from each of the three major credit rating agencies. Further bolstering the city's financial strength is the new rainy day fund goal established by the mayor during last year's budget process. Last year, the mayor set a new rainy day fund goal equal to 10% of the 2023 operating budget, or $114.4 million. Next slide, please. As can be seen on the slide, the 2024 operating budget sets aside $2.75 million plus interest into the Economic Stabilization or Rainy Day Fund this year, with a projected ending cash balance of $101.4 million by the end of 2024. This will keep us on schedule to meet our new goal, and furthermore, the Basic City Services Fund will have a projected year-end balance of $19.7 million, and our 27th pay period fund, which is a reserve fund established to prepare for those fiscal years in which we have 27 pay dates rather than 26, will end 2024 with a balance of $14.5 million. In short, as Finance Chair Bankston indicated, the financial health of our city remains strong. I would like now to address the Finance and Management Department budget briefly. The Finance Department is largely inward-facing and provides budgetary and financial support as well as procurement, facilities, fleet, construction, and real estate management support to other departments throughout the city. The 2024 Finance and Management budget is a maintenance budget, which includes $168.4 million and supports 331 full-time and 25 part-time positions across 4 divisions. The general fund represents slightly over $95.8 million of that total, with the balance coming from internal service revenues. The Facilities Management Division is our largest general fund division, with a budget totaling $23.4 million, including $6 million for utility expenses. The Fleet Management Division's proposed budget is $45.6 million and supports 131 full-time positions and 1 part-time position. And within that division, $11.9 million is budgeted to fuel our city's fleet. As has been noted in previous budget discussions, the Finance and Management Department's budget includes significant general fund resources, which, although budgeted within our department, benefit other general fund agencies. These include $27.8 million for citywide technology billings, $10.4 million for economic development incentive payments, and $21.7 million in hotel-motel tax fund disbursements. The finance citywide account is budgeted at $33.3 million and includes deposits of $2.75 million and $2.9 million into the rainy day fund and 27th pay period, respectively. In closing, I would like to thank the mayor for his leadership, Auditor Kilgore for her guidance, as well as Council President Hardin, Finance Chair Bankston, and Vice Chair Dorans for their partnership. I would also like to thank Lynn Beatty, who is here with me today. She's the Finance and Management Department Budget Officer, and her staff, as well as fiscal staff and directors throughout the city for all their invaluable contributions to the 2024 proposed budget. Thank you. That concludes my remarks, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Director. And again, I think it's important for folks to point out, I also have the privilege of chairing Economic Development and Small Minority Business, that 78% roughly of our budget, that healthy budget we see, is from income tax. And so that is, I think, directly correlated to the job growth that we see and us continuing to think about how do we bring good paying jobs here to our residents of Columbus. But with that, I think that all of us know that the forecasts and things that we hear in the economy of that is coming, and as we are healthy and we continue to grow, we do know that that's slowed down just a little bit. Could you just talk about the philosophy around how we're thinking about that, and how do we continue to be steadfast as we think about potential downturns in the economy coming?
Yes, thank you, Chair Bankston and members of council. It's really a sort of a three-pronged philosophy. One is close partnership with Auditor Kilgore. She's always very thoughtful about what revenue projections that we should be assuming when building budgets, and has been on point always about being conservative but yet optimistic, and reasonably so. So that sort of sets our budgetary thresholds. The second would be through budget development and also through a constant quarterly review process that actually Lynn and her staff go throughout the year. And that's to ensure that we're doing the proper things from an efficiency and cost effectiveness standpoint, to make sure that we're utilizing city resources adequately and not, we're doing everything we can to minimize costs. And three, it's just an overall philosophy of program development, constantly meeting with departments to understand how we as a department can be better partners, fiscal partners, providing them with the tools to do cost-effective and programmatic check-ins on all their different programs.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I wanted to talk through, I think, how the budget is framed this year, because I think we see a substantial drop in the citywide transfer line, and in particular, certain things like Sustainable Columbus, Right Response, some of the other bigger initiatives that we've been working on collectively. Are those reflected or located somewhere else in the 2024 budget proposal?
Yes, thank you, Chair Bankston. Yes, 100%. We've shifted those out of the citywide account into departmental budgets. So, for example, Sustainable Columbus was budgeted in the citywide account. In prior years, it's going to be budgeted in 2024 in the Department of Public Utilities. In terms of Right Response, those monies, again, were budgeted in citywide account in years prior. Now they're budgeted within the Department of Public Safety. Computer replacement is going to be within our income tax set-aside fund. So I was a long-winded way of saying you're correct. We have those kind of shifted into departmental budgets.
Yeah, and I just point that out and want to make sure that we clarify that for our residents, that those line items that they maybe have typically seen there, that those are not priorities that have fallen off for this council and for the administration, but they are reflected in other places in the budget. Can we, and speaking of that, I mean, I think that we see items that are still in the citywide transfer line that would be otherwise applicable in other departments. So we've seen that some that have moved to other departments. Can you just talk a little bit about our philosophy of what stays in that citywide transfer line, or say, for instance, as an operation that happens in public service, but it's being held in finance, and how we think through those things?
Yes, thank you, Chair Banks, members of council. So you're correct. We still have a couple of budgetary line items that do reside in our citywide account. Two of the most notable would be economic development incentive payments, and also legal and discretionary potential payouts. These would be indicative of those type of budgetary items for which we have a fair amount of uncertainty, meaning we're not quite sure exactly what the total cost is going to be, so we want to budget to an adequate level to fund those. If those were to be shifted into departmental budgets, it can overinflate departmental budgets. And the way Lynn's team works, the way we budget at the city under Director Owens, is it's a target budgeting model. And so we allocate resources on a prorated basis depending on a department's overall budget. So if we're shifting a lot of these expenses into departmental budgets and it's overinflating those budgets, it could cause for a misallocation of resources. So bottom line is, for expenses that we have a large amount of uncertainty, we try to keep those in the citywide account.
Got it. Thank you. I'll open up for my colleagues. Any questions or comments? Councilmember White.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate that. And thank you for being here, Deputy Director Long. I'm a newbie, so I'm trying to take in as much as I can to understand the budget process and what that looks like. But I did want to take a moment to ask you just a quick question. You know, as the city, as you know, the city has established climate action goals. Can you speak to how this budget helps us meet these goals and what steps facilities management is taking to achieve these?
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember. It's a pleasure to meet you. Look forward to working with you. So yes, well, first of all, even though it's not reflected in this budget, I wanted to let you know within Director Owens' capital budget, we budget approximately $2 million each year for sustainability efforts within the Department of Finance. Our operating budget, specifically facilities, deals with the operating impacts of carrying out those capital initiatives. So for instance, if there's, they engage in energy efficiency lighting retrofits, we do HVAC upgrades, we partner with the Office of Sustainability to ensure that we're building new facilities in an energy efficient manner, and we also we purchase energy in a green fashion. And so we recently partnered with Councilmember Harden and Chair Bankston on a process that's undergoing now, which is the procurement of energy on the open market in a 100% green fashion for city utilization. So a number of initiatives, and certainly happy to talk more about those. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll definitely take you up on that. I'm just curious, and I know this is a little early in the capital budget process, but it sounds like it is very sustaining, more so than increasing. And given the urgency of the times, given that 2023 was the hottest year on record, it's interesting to me that that would remain flat, given the needs across facilities in the city of Columbus.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. I know that we're currently in the early stages of the 2024 capital budget, and certainly given, as you said, rising global temperatures and just ongoing climate crisis, I know that will be one of the highest priority topics for funding in 2024 and beyond.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Deputy Director, in this in the mayor's budget, the administration went into the Basic City Service Fund and tapped in. Could you talk about just the philosophy of Basic City Services going into this budget? How council should consider engaging with the Basic City Service Fund, and I think about this as we also think about the ARPA funds and others, as we have many asks that we will be sifting through and working with the departments to close any gaps that we may see. How is the department, how is the administration, what is the philosophy around Basic City Services in 24?
Yeah, thank you, Council President Harden. Yes, this represents a one-time transfer from the Basic City Services Fund into the 2024 proposed general fund. We do not anticipate this to be an annual contribution by Basic City Services. As you know, Council President, these dollars were largely Bureau of Workers' Compensation refunds that the city received and deposited into that fund. And so this was an opportunity to utilize some of those funds to help fund some of the much needed services and programs of the city. But we certainly look forward in future years, especially as that fund moves down in terms of total dollars in that fund to sustain future operations from, intra-year revenues.
Councilmember.
Thank you very
have another
much.
question?
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Director, as Chair of Public Safety, I'm consistently hearing from our patrol officers that they are not turning their cars in when there's problems because there are no replacement cars. They are not getting the turnaround. If they need the brakes replaced, they could be without a car for weeks. And so it's a considerable safety concern that I have for our city. So first of all, I want to ask a little bit about fleet management policies, but I think you should answer first and foremost, like why we'd be talking about police cars in an operating budget versus a capital budget. So that'd be one just for the people's edification. And I want to talk a little bit about, what happens when, let's say, the fleet department policies don't necessarily support the operational goals of the division. And it seems like a reluctance to only work with one particular brand versus making a different selection with other vehicles that might be more readily available. I'm concerned for the residents of the city of Columbus, so I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Ramey. So, yeah, to your first point, our fleet management division, as you know, is one of the divisions within the Department of Finance, and they are funded with operating dollars. So to your point, it's very relevant. In terms of funding for new vehicles, you're right, there's never enough, it seems like, capital funding to fund every initiative. I know that public safety has gotten an increasing share of our overall special income tax set aside that we do for citywide vehicle purchases. It's never enough, but they have received a larger proportional share of the overall pie, if you will. And as I indicated to Councilmember Weiss, we're getting ready to kick off a 2024 capital budget season, and that will certainly be one of the high priority items to look at. In terms of increasing time to fix vehicles, I know Fleet has been really challenged by supply chain issues, which I think is really hurting a lot of operations right now. It's been difficult to get parts. It's been difficult to get different engine and fluids, and so they're still very much dealing with supply chain constraints, which I know has increased turnaround times on vehicles. And in terms of the reluctance to sort of move away from existing brands, existing types of vehicles to others, it's more of an issue with the supplier network that they work with. Is this, the skill set is around the vehicles that we currently purchase and utilize. So for instance, we have a network of suppliers that we use to fix vehicles, where they're used to fixing Ford, let's just say. And we have relationships with Ford suppliers. So it's more like the ingrained system lends itself to who we've been doing business with. I don't know if I'm articulating myself very well, but it's not so much a reluctance to move away from that, but the system is set up to service existing brands and makes and models. So, but I'll pause for a minute. I don't know if I was able to answer your questions.
Good enough for putting you on the spot. Not an acceptable answer for me, but good enough to since I put you on the spot. So we'll dig in more with this as we come to my budget hearing. So thank you.
Happy to help. Thank you, Councilmember.
All right. Well, thank you, Deputy Director. And again, this is the first of many, so I think some of these questions will be captured in some of the other hearings as well. We will move right along to our auditor, and we will hear a presentation actually from our city auditor on her budget and the progress made in her office to date. Due to scheduling conflicts, Auditor Kilgore is unable to be with us in person this evening. However, she did prepare a video presentation for us, and we do have representation from her office if there are any questions. Before playing the video, I would like to just share the following information from the auditor's team. That in their proposed budget, the auditor's office is funded to support 121 personnel at an annual cost of $20,586,755. Their department mission is to carry out the duties and responsibilities as prescribed by Columbus City Charter and the Columbus City Code to provide efficient and effective collection of monies and audit services with continuous upgrades to the city tax and filing systems and all other necessary resources utilized in the process. As I mentioned, we do have Mr. Robert Prince, who is with us from the auditor's office, should any members have any questions. So at this time, we will kick it over to our auditor.
Hello, council friends. How are you? Thank you for allowing me to visit with you virtually this evening. I'm so sorry the timing did not work out. I am in Washington, D.C. I am presenting to the Senate Budget Committee on the topic of municipal finance and climate-oriented projects. So please forgive my absence, but this is really important. So using the power of technology, which is kind of a subtitle of our budget presentation this evening, we're using AI to hopefully help me bring a little bit more to our presentation tonight. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And please, as just a caveat, if you have questions, just drop me a line. I will be checking email tonight and will be delighted to take any questions that you might have. So let's get started. First of all, I would be remiss if I didn't use technology to actually introduce you to our entire senior leadership team. These are the individuals who are truly the subject matter experts and are doing incredible work representing not only their departments and their, offices that they're over, but for the entire city. And each and every single one of these are leaders. They have won a number of awards this year and have really put us into a different category, different stratosphere with a number of really good things. We've often, been known for financial management here at the city, as you are very well aware. We are the largest city in America to maintain a AAA bond rating, but we're also being known a lot for our technology and how we're using that to meet our citizens really where they are. So I'm really proud of that, and I look forward to sharing with you a few different areas this evening. So let's go ahead and get started, especially for the newer council members. It's important that I take a step back and share and remind everyone that all of our presentation tonight is based upon, when I first came into office, 5 pillars of modernization. We set forth with really at the time kind of gargantuan endeavors. And the great news is I'm going to share a little bit about where each one is, but it's been incredible. And first of all, you all know Microsoft D365, a worldwide product. We upgraded our accounting and operations. It's now D365. We did implement a brand new payroll system, Dayforce. We implemented a new tax revenue system, GenTax. You call it CRISP to outward, public-facing folks. And we've also really doubled down on our investments in data analytics and transparency. I'll tell you more about that in a second. And lastly, citywide banking. Citywide banking is an entire city, all hands on deck initiative. And certainly the bulk of this falls into the office of the city treasurer with Debbie Klee. She's done an incredible job of leading this way. We are locked arms. I believe it's a huge opportunity to even further put ourselves into a position of not only user experience leadership with our residents and our taxpayers, our business community, but also invest in incredible modernization for purposes of things like cybersecurity. So I'm really proud to be a partner of that effort. So for just a recap, the first 4 are all implemented, which is why this budget request for 2024 should really be about optimization. We have these systems, they're all launched, and now how do we make sure that we're using them to their fullest capacity and also building up the human skills necessary to do so? So to take you on just a quick tour of our budget and its request, let's start with the kind of office that you know, our continuation of our core duties. We are widely regarded for all of the public-facing documents that we put out. We do a lot of work with things like investor relations, financial reporting, the annual audit, of course, and all of that is going to be continued in our budget request of you tonight. In addition to that, I do want to share with you just a quick visual. On the right-hand side, you'll see kind of an older-looking document. That was our original transparency portal, and it was updated daily by individuals, and that allowed for everyone to have kind of a digital dashboard of how we were doing financially from a revenue perspective. Going forward, especially into 2024, we're building out a lot of functionality so that hopefully you as users, external users, but also constituents all around the city of Columbus will have access to not just information, but meaningful information. So look forward to even more opportunities to better communicate the financials of the city of Columbus. One of the partners that we have on the outside who's been incredibly useful to us is Gartner. They're an internationally recognized, as you know, technology advisory firm. And as we especially look to evaluate, potentially adopt new, service enhancements made possible through analytics, AI, cloud-based technologies, emerging, technologies that we don't even quite know about, Gartner is an incredible resource for us. If you consider the numbers of financial transactions that we have, the numbers of dollars that go through our office on any given day, the city of Columbus on any given day, we do have to consider operationally kind of like a Fortune 1000. Gartner helps us make sure that we're meeting our peer goals by looking holistically at all of our ongoing efforts. With respect to our office, one of the biggest undertakings that we had was our new tax system. huge deal, and I'm so proud of it. The final phase went live in June of this past year, which included emissions, short-term rental, and hotel motel. As you know, hundreds of transactions go through our tax system each and every day. And so we are requesting, just from a core perspective, ongoing operating costs associated with the city's revenue system. But because I have you virtually, I do want to spend just a moment sharing with you what our tax system looks like. So before, it was broken up by 288 separate programs written in COBOL that made up the old tax system. We've come a really, really long way from, we like to say, paper to portal. In fact, so many people were involved in just a single tax form that we saw not only incredible opportunities for just modernization, but a lot better user experience for our residents and our taxpayers. And to that, we found a lot of economies of scale in working with Fast Enterprises, who is the host of our new tax system. They do work with a lot of big governments all across the globe, as well as JP Morgan Chase on the finance side. And let me describe that. We do meet people where they are. We really strive to, whether you like to pay your taxes by check, or like me, if you just want to keep it as simple as possible and hopefully use your iPhone, we try and meet people where they are, which is why we've expanded the types of ways folks can pay and do business with the city of Columbus. And so part of that is constantly evaluating our users' needs. And so when we were first going live with our tax system, we sat down with the New Americans organization, we sat down with Jewish Family Services and their international programs to ask individuals, especially those who are not native to the United States, what were their interactions like? We've really tried to test and retest and try and figure out where people find blocks of information, where there might be gaps, where there might be confusion. And this is really important. How do we better ensure a trusting relationship? And so you'll see us continuously evolve the way that we do business with our residents and our taxpayers. From an evolution of returns, we went from paper to portal, and that's really evidenced by this chart, I think. We began in the last several years before we went live with our system to be very paper heavy. In fact, about 98% came from paper. Going into 2024, we're expecting that to be kind of the exact opposite. So that's, again, not saying that we are not still accepting. In fact, we're accepting checks using an enhanced lockbox with our partner at JP Morgan Chase. And it's incredibly intuitive because it reads using AI, even handwritten language. It's amazing. But the evolution of returns we expect will continue. And again, we're just trying to meet people where they are and evolve as necessary. User experience is really important to us. We really want to make sure that we are providing the best services. And so you might see some functionality changes in the years to come as well. From a efficiency standpoint, hotel, motel, emissions, and short term, when they came online, keep in mind, they used to be based in paper. Now it's electronic. This is a much better experience for our hotel, motel, emissions, and short term rental taxpayers. I want to spend just a moment on personnel, and really we often say, with the exception of people, data is our most important asset, but it's really, I want to spend just a moment talking about people, because this is why we have been successful. Our operating budget today does have the continuation of our existing teams, but because of expansions, we are requesting 2 additional persons, and I'll share that in just a moment. We're also going to spend a little bit time on employee retention and training. So to those 2 additional positions, one is with Dayforce time and attendance. Time and attendance in Dayforce, when they are unified, there's a ton of excellent, it's one of the greatest benefits, is unified platform, where with the unified system, divisions and departments will no longer have gaps, if you will, resulting from the need to manually transfer that information. but instead it's in real-time lockstep. So a significant reduction in humor and error and things like that. We are adding more departments and divisions from around the city onto this platform, and so we do need to dedicate a full-time person to do so. Similarly, with respect to purchasing cards, that's something that we began in 2020, and it's been very popular. It's also a great thing for internal controls and so forth. So right now, about half of the city's departments and divisions use it. More have asked to participate, but we're at a capacity issue. So we do need to add a support person who can fully dedicate their time to that role. Overall, staff objectives for 2024 really come down to a lot of upskilling and training to meet technology as it develops. One thing that I deeply care about is with modernization, it's more than just replacing a system. It's about making sure that we transform all aspects, including our workforce, processes, culture, and to create an expectation that ongoing innovation is going to occur. And as we're doing that, we have to meet our folks where they are skill-wise and provide any upskilling as it's necessary. And so our vision for 2024 and certainly into the future does include an increase in training and professional development. We found that it's one of the best ways that we've been able to maintain employee retention at the high levels that we have. It's a huge staff morale thing as well, and so we ask for your ongoing support. And to a kind of similar note, I would say that it's really advantaged us as we've launched these systems. There's a lot of emotional appeal whenever you launch a new system, and it's really fun, and there's a lot of energy behind it. And then, as we get into more optimization, having these periods of when innovation occurs, it can also have that kind of hurrah moment. And it's really, really great for employee morale. Now, as we kind of wrap up today with my presentation, I would love to respond to two questions that Councilmember Bankston's office so kindly offered. And the first question is this: your office has been very successful with regard to implementing technology projects, new payroll, tax, D365. What are some of the major lessons that we've gleaned from the experience? That is an incredible question and a really, really big one. So I wrote down just a few items, and I would be so keen to have a much longer conversation. But for us, IT governance is the first major thing to do. We find it to be the secret sauce and can really separate out a good project from a spectacular project. Included in governance are also your plans for things like organizational change management. One of the things that I had to learn, but I fortunately had a number of people in the office who had had major implementations experience before, and making sure that we insist that we understand the process before we select the technology. And so, for example, making sure that we know what we absolutely have to achieve, and that's the not just core process, but also what do we want to achieve? How do we want to better serve our citizens? How do we want to expand our ability to deliver the services in different languages, for example? And making sure that we choose what our goals are and the processes that we need to achieve before we then select technology. That has been a super important piece of our technology strategy. And then fourth is data. Data is a superpower. Data, everyone wants it. Everyone wants to understand it. And so knowing kind of at the outset how to lasso it, how to use it, how you want to communicate it has been really, really important. Another question that was asked that I think is also really excellent: our income tax growth and healthy reserve funds should allow us to weather an economic downturn. However, are there any impending risks that the city should be preparing for? And the answer is yes. It's a really, really thoughtful question. Again, would welcome the opportunity for more time on any of these kind of high-level responses. But the things that I'm looking at in 2024 are these: growth. All kinds of different directions from that word. There are all kinds of positives. There are some negatives. There are a lot of unintended consequences, but growth across the board. For us, growth in this office, not just trying to track how people are working, how they're moving here, what levels of education, how to better serve them, what languages. Growth also is trying to track that over the next several years. And what that looks like as we get to feel our new normal. Equitable infrastructure, I think, is an important topic. See this with a lot of my peers across the country as well, but especially with communities like ours that have super regional projects, like an Intel, where that infrastructure that is quite expensive and expansive is going, and making sure that it's not at the cost, especially from like a total debt burden on core residents. 3 would be the politicalization of public funds. We're watching this along with a number of departments and divisions around the city as, for example, certain caveats are put in place on applications for grants or things like that. And it's just something that we all know is increasing, and our awareness is as well, as the consequences economically are larger than they certainly were before. 4th is cybersecurity. We all know, and I know we're doing a lot to do what we can to mitigate our risk. And then 5th that came to mind is healthcare costs, especially when I'm talking to my colleagues around the U.S. Like many, Columbus is self-insured. And so as new technologies that are incredible, like genetic treatments, come in line, that does carry with it additive cost. And so just making sure that we're staying in lockstep with those big changes. My friends, I appreciate your time so very much. It's been a pleasure to visit with you virtually, and I will look forward to taking any questions that I possibly can. Thank you so much, and have a really good evening.
Well, want to again thank our auditor for being thoughtful and doing that video presentation and also answering the questions. So now I don't actually, I was just over there asking Rob, like, this was what I was going to ask her, so I don't want to catch you off guard. But no, would really appreciate her, and I want to make sure to say on the record, and I don't think that this is hyperbole at all, that we have the best auditor in the entire country. So again, I want to thank Megan Kilgore for her leadership. And I do want to make sure that I do ask the question, Robert, because I think that it's something that we think about, even in the ED side of things, is this work from home and rise from work from home. And I think we've seen a clear strategy of attracting big talent to Columbus, a lot of jobs that have been predominantly in-person jobs. And with the changes that were made at the state legislature after the pandemic, I think that many of us have prepared and we have discussed this rise from work from home and what that could potentially do to income tax collection. If you could just talk through how have we seen that play out, and are there ongoing conversations or ongoing concerns about that work from home policy from the State House?
Thank you, Chair Bakeston, members of council. Work from home really has been a question on our mind, how it would affect revenue. There was a very large uncertainty surrounding the effects of requested refunds post-COVID, as people did either hybrid or remained at home. There was actually during the pandemic actually a large drop in refunds issued while the governor's executive order was in place for stay-at-home, where the collections were expected to be at your primary work location. Since stay-at-home has been lifted, we've moved back to a more normalized collections process, and we're seeing the refunds have increased back to a more typical amounts. Between 2022 and 2023, they were relatively flat, less than a 1.5% difference. But when preparing the general revenue estimate, refunds are a factor as part of the calculation of coming up with that number. And a large swing in refunds due to remote work does remain a risk. It's something that the auditor's office monitors closely on a daily basis. In using our new tax revenue system and the interfaces over to the Dynamics upgraded system as well, we're able to get the information a bit faster and see that, so we would be able to sound the alarm a little earlier should we see that increase occur. We also hope that the omni-channel approach that we're taking with making it easier to file with the city may help us pick up some collections that people may have not filed because it was more difficult. So we think that perhaps by making it easier to file with us electronically through multiple methods, that it may actually improve compliance.
Thank you for that. And I do have to say kudos for the modernization. I actually did file my taxes and pay them this year on the CRISP system, and it was very efficient and very easy. So happy to see that we have that feature. Any questions from my colleagues? Vice Chair, President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. And Robert, certainly, if you're not able to answer this now, certainly happy to allow the auditor to follow up at another time. And I'm going to try and go halfway here, so I'm not talking this way and not look at you. One of the things I've spoke with the auditor about, because of the enhancements in the system, there's been the ability for the auditor's office really to look at, particularly with some of our larger employers, sort of transient consultants that are coming into town, different contractors that under Ohio law, you have to be present working, within the jurisdiction for 21 continuous days before you owe income tax. So over the years, it was sort of hard to track that. And especially, I think, with the antiquated systems that we had in place at the systems prior to Auditor Kilgore's, I think, attempts to modernize the system, I think it was almost impossible to catch a lot of those folks that maybe come into Columbus for a month or two to work, and some of the larger employers in town. But certainly this is not their primary residence, but under Ohio law they owe us taxes. And one of the questions that, again, the auditor and I have talked about is sort of the efforts in order to identify individuals by allowing this sort of increase in technology, and sort of what the result that has been, again, to make sure that everyone's paying their fair share here in Columbus, to make sure that we're able to pay for everything that the Department of Finance has sort of highlighted from a holistic standpoint. So again, I don't know if you have anything to add to sort of, again, the efforts of the auditor's office to make sure that they have the proper procedures in place in order to capture more of that income tax from individuals that may not be calling Columbus home, but they're calling Columbus home long enough in order for them to owe income tax to us.
Thank you for the question, Council Member. Withholding is a compliance issue generally with the employers, and while technology is in place for us to monitor the collections and be more efficient with it, it does not give us as well the compliance checking with the employer per se just in our system. What we've been looking to do is look at third-party data sources and where we can make some comparisons or estimates, not just in the area of withholding, but perhaps in the areas of short-term rental, where we could look at some revenue projections from third-party data collectors, compare that. We do, as a city, have the ability to access IRS data through a program that we're one of the few cities in the United States that actually received this IRS data. And so as we became more efficient and we reskill our employees from being more on data entry to auditing, we're going to also look at using these third-party data sources to help us track down and potentially increase compliance over the next few years.
Thank you. And I think that's something to really highlight here, the difference of when you talk about the change of technologies, when you have, close to 90% of returns coming into paper, you need an incredible amount of personnel in order to process those, right? And when you see that shift that was highlighted by the auditor, you're able to do more proactive work on this kind of front in order to make sure that, again, people are paying their fair share as they're making a living in Columbus, whether or not they're calling our city home or whether or not they're here for, whatever time period they may be. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other colleagues? All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. And again, thanks to our auditor for all the work that they are doing. We are going to move now to our city treasurer, and we will hear a presentation from Ms. Klee and her office's 2024 budget. Madam Treasurer, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, President Pro Tem and Chair Bankston and other members of council. Thanks for inviting me to talk about the Treasurer's Office budget this evening. As you can see, just to give you a general highlight, the Treasurer's Office proposed 2024 budget is $1,608,315. It breaks down as follows. $1,228,418 is in personnel costs, which comprise staffing of 8 full-time and 2 part-time positions, of which 2 of those positions are currently vacant. We have $4,200 in supplies and $375,697 in services costs. This part of the budget is predominantly for contracts. For example, the $228,000 that is budgeted for our investment advisory contract that, as the Finance and Management Department highlighted, helps us with our investment earnings. $105,000 is for Treasury banking services with our partner banks, and $30,720 is for software. That includes Treasury management and portfolio management software. Our general increase from 2023 to 2024 is $33,584. In general, our mission is to assist, direct, and maintain the fiscal integrity of the City of Columbus. What that really means to us is that we disperse payments on order of the city auditor, deposit all funds into the city's bank accounts, and invest all of our excess funds that are not needed for operations. But what do we do for citizens? We're the city's banker. We work behind the scenes to make banking services possible for our partner agencies, like the Department of Public Utilities and Building and Zoning and Parking, so that they can take payments from our public. We work to enable more types of payments to be possible. We also manage the city's investments through our contract for investment advisory services, as I mentioned. Our investment advisor adheres to the city's guidelines for investment for safety and liquidity, and they look for strategies to maximize our investment earnings for the city. City Council had also asked what forthcoming changes to the Treasurer's Office had budgetary implications. The Treasurer's Office is engaged, as Auditor Kilgore mentioned, on a banking modernization initiative, the result of a 2-year RFP process. While that process may uncover opportunities with budgetary implications, it's too soon for us to estimate them at this time. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer, and just also want to, thank you for our earlier discussion today and your thoughtfulness of how we leverage technology, how we leverage this modernization, and being thoughtful about it, saying that we don't know if we need additional bodies or not, right? And thinking about that. And so I really appreciate your leadership in that, and also want to shout out that our Treasurer's Office, if you look at their budget, very small, but they are small but yet mighty team, and make sure that folks are paid on time and make sure that payments are collected. So just again, want to say thank you. Any questions from my colleagues? Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much. Just brings a quick question, a couple of quick questions. Everybody in your office is over $20 an hour, correct? Pay-wise?
That's correct.
Okay, good. And then secondly, you mentioned the 2 positions that need to be filled. Is that a struggle getting those filled in today's environment?
At the present time, I would say no.
Okay.
We've been very lucky, and in the past, we've been able to recruit and retain very talented people. The issue of the 2 vacant positions today is one of trying to discern what we actually need. So we'd like this banking modernization initiative to lead us before we decide what sort of skill sets we need. We know that one of them is going to be a technology-driven position because we're going to be rolling out merchant processing and gateway solutions to our partner agencies that we will manage. And so that's a strength that we'll look to have. But we'd like to wait to be sure that we know what we want before we go and look to recruit them. Thanks for the question.
Yep, thank you, Treasurer. Madam Treasurer.
Any of my other colleagues? All right. Seeing none, we'll move right along. Again, thank you, Madam Treasurer. We will, last but certainly not least, in the Finance and Governance Committee is the Technology Department. And we have with us our Director, Director Sam Orth, who will walk us through their 2024 budget. Director, floor is yours.
Well, good evening, Chair Bankston, President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorans, members of council, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our 2024 operating budget with you. I'm joined by Pam O'Grady, our Deputy CTO and Chief of Staff, Rick Wagner, our Chief Operating Officer, and Ehab Tadros, our Assistant Director. I'll give them all the hard questions. As we have continued to modernize post-pandemic, we're generally seeing, we've heard tonight, an increase in technology investment across city departments, especially in public safety, recreation and parks, public utilities, and public services. City departments continue to modernize their operations to serve the public. We expect this trend will continue as departments are increasingly turning to investments in technology to directly serve the public. A common theme for us beyond the technology has been and will continue to be that human capital, the people, the city needs to effectively plan, build, and implement and protect information technology systems, not just today, but moving forward, are by far our most valuable resource. You'll hear me say this frequently, but for those in the listening audience and our newest council members and staff, we see DOT's role as enabling other city departments to achieve their goals in serving citizens. Our primary mission is supporting agencies across the city and using technology to serve the citizens, residents, and businesses of Columbus and Central Ohio. The department provides support for 12 essential city services such as the network, telecommunications, applications, programming services, desktop IT security, geographic information systems, and CTV media services, 6 enterprise applications used by all city departments, which includes GIS, Acela, 311, Tableau, citywide email, and our data integration platform, Talend, and 54 major line of business applications used by various city departments, in addition to certain technology services to our external customers, which include Franklin County Board of Commissioners and Columbus City Schools. At the center of our work is our continual focus on recognizing that our efforts are successful when our customers say we are successful, what we call the pillars of customer satisfaction, and we work to partner with city departments to help them focus on their role of working with the public and our role in supporting them. We've long called that the active stage crew metaphor. Our colleagues are the ones on the stage facing the public, and we're the stage crew behind them, keeping the show going on. Probably our best example of the stage crew, the people producing the work, is Columbus Television and Media Services. CTV produces and broadcasts and live streams media of city events, including this one right now, to the public. In 2023, CTV produced 540 hours of video content, 244 social media and internal videos, with 90% of CTV's coverage being simulcast to Facebook and YouTube. CTV continues to work with Columbus City Schools to broadcast K-12 educational content for students who want to continue learning from home. DOT Service Desk provides frontline incident response to the city's most common IT problems and user experience, and routes service requests and incident resolution internally within the department. In 2023, DOT Service Desk staff received 59,591 service tickets and closed 59,530 tickets. That's 229 tickets closed per day. In terms of our personnel, when I was before you last year, we had an authorized strength of 168, but we had 27 vacancies. I'm pleased to report that in 2023, we've hired 32 new employees. We consider this to be quite an accomplishment considering the challenging IT staffing landscape here in Central Ohio. The IT industry is highly competitive right now with national IT unemployment well below the national average at just 2.3%. According to one well-respected industry source, in 2023, Columbus had the 3rd fastest IT wage growth in the country and the highest among urban cities in the Midwest. We've worked with City HR to do an analysis of where our employees fall in the market and have worked with job candidates to emphasize our city benefits and work-life balance in our recruitment efforts. We're also partnering with Civil Service Commission to review and reclass outdated legacy language and classifications, as well as change some positions from tested to a non-competitive classifications, and have added language to pay for training and certifications. All these changes will help promote our teams for recruitment and retention purposes. We're also taking a new approach to recognizing the need for staffing in other city departments. In partnership with Recreation and Parks, we've helped them hire DOT staff who are assigned to Rec and Parks but remain DOT staff. We're also taking a similar approach with staffing at Public Safety and for other city departments who are interested. We believe this approach creates a broader set of growth opportunities for city IT staff who may learn needed skills and abilities on the job at DOT before they are promoted to other opportunities working directly for city departments. We believe this approach in seeing IT talent more broadly in the city is vital to the city's ability to attract, but more importantly, retain needed IT talent going forward. Together, we're greater than individually, especially when it comes to IT talent. Our client's computing section focuses on providing and supporting end-user technology for city staff, including desktops and laptops, telephones, call centers, audiovisual, facsimile, and printing. Our desktop support team has initiated the annual aged computer replacement program, assisting our customers with replacing their aged equipment with more modern hardware with the goal of increased performance and efficiency. We're excited to have the ability to focus on a larger number of aged assets, having had an increase of $1 million in our 2023 budget for a total of $2 million. That work will continue by DOT and city departments in 2024 as we move forward with computer replacement. Telephone support has initiated a first phase of replacing Public Safety's aged NEC phone system by switching over to our modernized Cisco voice system, allowing more functionality, citywide standardization, and improved support. This effort will carry over into 2024. Our data and analytics services help city departments use data to understand and improve city services. The DOT management team upgraded 3 major platforms in 2023, including Talon, our SQL Server-based data hub, and Tableau. The data management team also provided a total of 8 new data integrations for various departments, including Halogen, Data Ticket, Alternative Response, GraniteNet, Argonne, ESO Fire Incidents, and Property Smartsheet and Tablet Command. Additionally, the data team's Tableau group developed multiple dashboards, including the WAM archive, the ethics dashboard, and support for the water consumption report. The DOT geospatial or mapping team, we call GIS, continued to provide digital mapping services to address citywide needs. Projects included updates to enterprise GIS software and infrastructure to ensure long-term stability and continuity of vendor support, and partnering with other DOT teams on the successful update and implementation of enterprise systems that integrate with our mapping platform. The team also worked with the City Attorney's Office on a new application to track potential adverse impact of individual properties on their community and assisted development with the creation of a hub site to promote their Zone In initiative. The GIS team also played a pivotal role in advancing digital equity initiatives by leveraging its skills in data analysis and application design. The DOT database team implemented or assisted with the migration and upgrade of several application databases in 23, including many of the systems that I've already mentioned. Our application services team manages and maintains applications used by city departments. Multiple applications had significant changes in 2023. The City of Columbus website was a major modernization effort. In 2023, columbus.gov had over 3.8 million visitors and 12.7 million page views, with many accessing the site from their cell phone. Top pages visited included collection schedules, 311 services, utilities, bill payment, police media releases, and jobs. The DOT applications team and the mayor's office communications team launched Columbus.gov on a new platform we call Granicus, and the first phase of migrations are now complete. During the process, editors have reduced the number of pages by 85%, and the content has been restructured to make it easier for constituents to find what they need. We also put a lot of effort into our Gov Delivery communication platform. On behalf of the Mayor's Office, DOT continues to manage the Gov Delivery non-emergency communications tool for use throughout the city enterprise. In 2023, a total of 705 bulletins were distributed to over 8.8 million recipients. Today, there are 468,745 subscribers in Gov Delivery. The most popular topic among subscribers is the Civil Service Commission's news and events, with 15,296 subscriptions. We also focused a lot on application modernization within individual city departments. We assisted the Department of Utilities with their citywide meter modernization program for water, sewer, and electric. We upgraded DPU's document management system, which is called Falcon, and implemented a new solution to store video recordings of sewer pipes and drains called GraniteNet. We also collaborated with Building and Zoning Services, the Department of Public Services, and Department of Utilities to perform a major upgrade for the workflow management system known as Excella. We upgraded Business Objects and Crystal Reports, which provides application reporting for custom and commercial applications throughout the city. We created an online application for grants for baby changing stations. We made enhancements to the city's help desk system to automate frequent requests to save time and add capacity. We worked with the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Public Health to launch a new website to increase awareness for alternative crisis response programs. We worked with the Department of Health on their annual upgrade for their data collection platform known as REDCap, and we updated the application architecture for City Council's application that allows lobbyists to register and update their information in the city. Our infrastructure team provides citywide connectivity to the internet and provides cloud server and storage hosting solutions for city departments. Our infrastructure team has been busy with continuous modernization of services. They completed an upgrade to our SolarWinds application and implemented enhancements to improve server network and application monitoring capabilities. They started the process of adding solar panels to our West Data Center on the roof as part of our necessary roof replacement. That will be completed in 2024. And we completed enhancements to the virtual server environment and our networking environment. The team migrated mailboxes and public folders to an updated Microsoft Exchange email environment. Infrastructure completed several enhancements to the city's internet service, including migration from a single firewall configuration to a new architecture that provides better redundancy to better avoid internet interruption. We've upgraded our internet service for the city from 1 gigabit per second to 5 to allow for faster access to the internet. We've decommissioned some technology at police while giving them better service and more resilient capability at a lower cost. Infrastructure has also completed the Meraki Boundary Network upgrade in 10 city locations, including 77 South Front, Columbus Public Health, City Hall, Jerry Hammer, the Neighborhood Police Center, the Hilltop Early Childhood Center, the DEP Water Quality Lab, and Fire Stations 1 and 9. In 2024, we're starting with the Franklin County Municipal Court, Police Headquarters, Public Utilities Headquarters on Dublin Road, and then we'll finish 2024 with the remaining fire stations. The infrastructure team also supported several initiatives for city departments, including the DPU Smart Street Lighting Projects Phases 1 and 2, network integration of DPU's security camera system across their locations, and provided network and fiber connectivity for the new Inspector General's office. Our program management and IT systems planning, the City IT Project Management Office plans, analyzes, and helps city departments with the acquisition of their most important IT projects. Some of the hallmark projects they worked on in 2023 include the Real-Time Crime Center, a hub for dispatch services to utilize data collection and analysis to gather information, inform officers as quickly and as efficiently as possible, our cybersecurity risk improvement assessment, a citywide multi-phase assessment and action for cybersecurity policy process controls implementation, 911 dispatch improvements, a new system with improved automation of scenario assessment and scripting for dispatchers, a labor negotiation cost forecasting platform, that helps to efficiently cost and measure the impact of labor negotiation proposals to our compensation and benefit packages, and will serve as a foundation for financial labor forecasting and planning, and many more. And then lastly, our information security, the DOT security program, manages cybersecurity solutions, continuously monitors and assesses cybersecurity threats, and responds to potential security incidents, including DOT-provided IT services. In 2023, cybersecurity monitoring and incident response included over 170 billion events that were observed and evaluated, over 62 million inappropriate or unwanted communications were prevented, over 200,000 cyber threats were blocked by DOT Defense and our in-depth security protections. 9,116 notable security events were assessed by our cybersecurity analysts. 300 potential security incidents were responded to by security analysts, and 34 security incidents were contained and recovered. We also deployed an email official alarm button and closed-looped email analysis we call CLEAR to reduce the time needed to respond to malicious email messages sent to the Division of Police. We reconfigured email security scanning to better align with industry best practices. We implemented pilots for security awareness and training in our security education platform with the Income Tax Division for IRS 1075 compliance, and we provided OWASP Foundation training for DOT application support. We improved our security audit capabilities for monitoring network access, and in the compliance area, we facilitated DOT's response to IRS 1075, PCI or credit card DSS compliance, HIPAA compliance with public health, and financial systems compliance audits and the subsequent findings. And then finally, we established a contract for IT cybersecurity projects and services to provide better cybersecurity assessment and remediation services. So now I'm going to just refer really quickly to the budget slide. Our 2024 operating budget request totals $57,015,917, which includes $27,750,280 for the general fund agency's portion of our 2024 direct and indirect charge services, and $29,267,637 for other fund agencies and outside entities. The department is submitting a total budget that reflects a 4% vacancy credit with a staffing level of 182 full-time and eight part-time positions for both the Technology Director's Office and the Information Service Division. We also want to let you know this includes 8 positions for DOT staff assigned to 2 other city departments. The 2024 operating budget request reflects a total increase of $4,016,450, or 9.92% over the 2023 operating budget. Since we're talking about increases, the question is, do we expect the DOT budget to keep increasing year over year? The short answer is yes, for the following reasons. Firstly, we're generally seeing significant increases in software and licensing renewals. Some may not know that once you buy a technology product, you must continue to pay for licensing and maintenance annually. Generally, we're seeing 15 to 25% or higher increases per year, especially for software as a service platforms. We've seen acceleration in these increases, especially post-COVID. Anticipated operating funding in future years related to work that was funded by CARES Act dollars when we purchased technology for remote and hybrid access, which we continue to maintain. We paid for 3 to 5 years of coverage up front, which will be expiring, and those operating costs will be shifting over to our operating budget. Our operating expenditures for future capital investments, we use capital dollars for most of our large systems acquisitions, and those operating licensing and maintenance costs will continue to move over to our operating budget. And finally, any additional staffing costs for DOT staff who are assigned to provide services to city departments. For example, 4.6% of our current funded table of organization is for 8 positions assigned to those city departments. The feedback we're generally getting regarding this approach has been very positive, and we expect to see growth in this area in the future. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify on DOT's operating budget. We appreciate the opportunity to work with partner agencies across city government and serving the public, and are very proud of the dedication and hard work of the men and women at DOT who often work behind the scenes and around the clock to serve and enable our partners who are front and center with the public. We're also very grateful to the mayor and all of you in City Council for your ongoing partnership and support of this important work. That concludes our testimony, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director Orth, and had the privilege of chairing technology last term, and excited to continue to work with you and just for your thoughtfulness in your presentation today, and even forecasting what we should be expecting. One of the things that is, I think, really important to me is our new website. I think that there are parts of it, as you know, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of pages. Do we have a anticipated timeline of, when we can expect that to be fully built out? And then also, I think, just reiterating some of the advantages that will mean for our residents.
Well, firstly, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with you, Councilmember Bankston, and appreciate the question regarding the city's website. I would just firstly say, as with many legacy systems, they're really the evolution. They really evolve over long periods of time. And when we think about the city's website is really the doorstep for how we really interact with the public as a city. Oftentimes the first thing they do when they have a question or they want to know about a program, they go to our website to find out more information about a department or a program, or to find contact information and who they should call across our city government. So it's vitally important that our website is well positioned for serving a population that is becoming increasingly used to using technology as a means for gaining information from organizations. So it's vitally important. And when we think about how websites generally, not just the city's website, evolved over time, we oftentimes, we all use websites, but they haven't been around for as long as we might imagine. This phenomenon really started in around 1996, and that's not that amount of time. So there's been a lot of change in how we think about organizing information on the website. And in many cases, as websites evolved, they were organized around the organizations themselves, more or what we call organizationally centered. But when you think about the amount of information that a citizen has to go through, really redesigning the website in a way that is more citizen-centric and is more organized in terms of how they think and interact. We often say that we're a large 21-department city government, and we have lots of different departments. But citizens don't think that way. We're just one city of Columbus. So part of the website design was really in the approach that the mayor's office took and that the team took working with the PIOs across city government, was firstly to really engage the public. So they spent a fair amount of time using analytic tools to really look at what individual citizens were clicking on and looking at click frequency, and then doing surveys with the public and having conversations around what they were learning to ensure that we were getting firsthand knowledge of what was most important to them. That then became the primary driver in the website redesign. And as I mentioned in my remarks, the first phase of the project, which is really now complete, reorganized the website around that citizen-centric approach. And you'll see to a certain extent that we've de-emphasized the notion of departments and organize content more around the clicks and the information that people most want. And by doing that, we've been able to reduce 85% of the content and greatly speed up the access by citizens. The next phase then, and for those of you that use the website, you know that there's portions of the website behind phase one that are not yet done. City departments and the development team have worked very hard over the last 6 months and what we're now calling Phase 2 of the project to go through essentially the same process for all the remaining pages that are yet undone. The initial design for that was actually shared with city departments this past Tuesday, and we expect that work to be completed between now and the end of 2024. Hopefully sooner than the end of the year, but we expect the next big phase to be done over that period of time.
Thank you. I mean, it is a huge undertaking, and, you know, selfishly, I will say I'm surprised to see that the #1 visited page isn't city council, but, you know, I guess we're just not that popular, so we'll have to work on that. We have to work on that, Councilmember. Any questions from Councilmember White?
Thank you, Chair. And Director, appreciate the report. I feel like it probably would have been easier for you to talk about what you don't do, and that would have been a lot quicker. But I understand the collaboration that's necessary with technology. I just wanted to call out the digital equity work that you're doing and hope you can kind of speak to that in your budget. And I was curious if that work was more ARPA funded and if that is one in which we will be shifting over to the city's operating budget.
Chair Bankston, Councilmember Weish, thank you so much for the question. We're very excited with the investment that was and the decision that was really made by council just a month ago. It was, well, 2 months ago. I lose track of time, but back in November, that authorized the department to move forward on our efforts to bridge the digital divide in our city. We have over 80,000 households representing about 200,000 people in Franklin County that do not have home internet subscriptions and over 60,000 that don't have a computing device. And we talked in testimony at the time. Many of them have cell phones, but you can imagine applying for a job or writing a term paper on a cell phone and how hard that would be. So, you know, closing the digital divide really provides digitally excluded residents with opportunities to obtain devices at low or no cost, to connect to affordable, reliable home internet, and to learn, which we think is the most important part, the skills ranging from writing an email to completing online courses to enabling full and equitable participation, really in a modern economy that demands it. So to your point, Council Member, the council funded $15.7 million in the city's remaining ARPA dollars to fund those activities over a 3-year period. Our goal is to get to and address, I would love to tell you that we're going to get to all 80,000. That's a big lift in that period of time, but our objective is 30,000 households over the next 3 years. And we are doing that as a city, as a co-investment with the county in the Franklin County Digital Equity Coalition that the city and the county and others have participated in going back to March of 2020 at the dawn of the pandemic, if there is such a thing. And we are joined by community partners across the city and the county. Some of the original partners are all still involved. They include the Columbus Foundation, MORPC, Columbus Metropolitan Library, Jewish Family Services, Goodwill, Metropolitan Housing Authority, and many, many more who have been instrumental in helping us identify this need and who will serve as our partners moving forward and investing in programs and services. We are currently in the kickoff phase. We did pilots in 2023 with this funding. We're currently setting up our fiscal agent, which is the ESC of Central Ohio, and we're kicking off digital literacy programs, device programs, and connectivity and outreach programs, in addition to recruiting additional partners in the community. Getting to 30,000 people over 3 years is a very big lift, and as much as we're very thankful to have the partners that we have now, we know we're going to need more, so we are looking for additional partners. A lot of work yet to do, but we're very proud of the investment that council has made in this work and look forward to doing it with Smart Columbus, and who is the project managing entity for this work, but all of the partners here in the city and the county.
Appreciate that explanation. And Having worked in a technology adjacent organization for a long time, I know it's always kind of a priority to start at that basic access, basic understanding of digital literacy. I am curious, though, because we as a state are trying to position ourselves as the Silicon Valley of the Midwest. What does that look like in continual skill building for young adults and adults who are looking to kind of get into that career field? Has that been something that has been discussed with the coalition? Is there things that we potentially could be doing or budget dollars that we could be allocating for those skill building?
Councilmember Weish, just what a great follow-up question. And, you're 100% spot on. I think if we look at it from an economic development point of view and we recognize that there really are multiple economies out there, at least from our point of view, there's a knowledge economy or an information economy and a labor economy. A lot of the job growth is especially in certain fields, biotech, health, sciences, engineering, IT, and so on, STEM fields. Given the disconnected nature of many of the folks that we're trying to connect with, getting to basic skills is a really important first step, as I'm sure you're well aware. The next step has to be the next level of workforce development with concrete skill development in all of those fields. Adult education and extracurricular education for middle and high school students are particularly important. Part of the investment that the city has made in the development of this program prior to now has been beyond the pilots that we've done in the adult education area, has been focused on STEM education and extracurricular education for middle and high school students. That will continue. That is part of the funding in the ARPA dollars. Our next level, and to your question around really knowing what that looks like from a dollars and cents point of view, we're not really quite there yet because we're still determining what that's going to look like and what the pathways are going to be in the next iteration of this work. But we're having a lot of conversations about that and the fact that it absolutely has to, that's what has to come next. And we see the opportunity to grow and expand the network, and we see people coming through basic skills training, becoming navigators who then help to engage the rest of the community as being champions for that next level. We know we have to recruit navigators and other people who will then, as in addition to giving service, we will focus on them in terms of STEM, career education, alternative certification, community education is a great overlay to the Columbus Promise, and then connection to other career technical colleges and universities here in the region. So that's a bigger part of the big lift, if you will, but that has to come. It will come next.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council Member. And thank you again to all of our directors and city staff that were present this evening to help with this hearing. We do not have any folks that signed up to speak. Again, this is the first of the budget hearings. We have a total of 5, so please, for those that view this later or that may have questions that didn't come up today, feel free to send our office any type of communications. We'll make sure we get that answered for you. I want to also thank my staff, my legislative aide, J.P. Dorval, as well as my legislative analyst, Jonathan Brown, and our office's intern, Olachi Anya, as well as our legislative research office staffers, Kristen Estosi and Director Matt Erickson, for all the hard work that they put through this process. I think that what we see here today is really a manifestation of a lot of folks working behind the scenes that think about and again analyze this budget through that equity lens and through our priorities here on council. The next budget hearing will be ran by President Pro Tem Dorns. That will take place tomorrow at 5 p.m. That hearing will cover the proposed budgets for the Economic Development and Small and Minority Business Committee, along with the Workforce Education and Labor Committee. To provide written or in-person testimony, please email Kevin McCain in Councilmember Doran's office at kbmccain@columbus.gov by noon tomorrow. You can visit City Council's social media handles as well as the city's website to see the schedule for all of the remaining budget hearings that will take place again this week and next week, and again want to make sure that we're engaging with folks. Seeing no other business to be coming before this committee, I will adjourn our meeting. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.